So with that, I want to bring on the COO of Eternity Establishment. Ingmar, are you here in the back?
That's true.
Come on. Can we give this man a wonderful applause, please? Come on. So, how does it feel? First Token Summit, has this been a good experience?
Excellent experience, and I think it continues. So
It will continue, absolutely. This man made an impression on me because I was walking by and just pulled out a credit card and gave it to me, his personal credit card. Then I found out it was not his personal credit card.
please.
But
Almost.
Do check them out in the far right over there. They've got champagne and they've got wallets and other cool things. So
Eternity booth on the right.
excellent. What do people need to know about you before we start the panel?
I think it's more interesting to hear about the guys, but,
I know, but
just
this
in
moment
short,
is you.
I'm COO, you already mentioned, of the
Yes.
Eternity Establishment. I'm based in Liechtenstein together with the headquarters of the Eternity Establishment, and basically, I take care of all the background stuff, so that is not that fascinating for people, but I've been a proud person living in Liechtenstein and seeing all the initiatives and activity in this place. And I see with this Token Summit that the ecosystem got together after a long Corona pause. And it starts creating something great. And I think we can all already expect that the next one is going to be even bigger. And all the this is really awesome. This place rocks, you know. So
I thank you for supporting it and being an important part to it. I know we've had a few people from your team here. What's this panel about?
yeah, it's about the challenges, current challenges in regards of crypto asset exchanges and brokers in Liechtenstein and in Europe. So I have to notify you, we will talk less. I mean, a little bit of regulatory, you can't go without it. But we will try to look at the business side of it.
Okay.
So let's see what our panelists are going to tell us.
Are you ready for the panelists? Should we bring them up?
Yeah, I think they're ready too.
This is the largest panel we have today, so please give a nice warm applause to the panelists as they come on out.
Thank you very much for joining. Let me introduce the guys first. I mean, probably almost all of you know them already. That's why we will keep it short a little bit. But first, this is Mauro Casellini, CEO of Bitcoin Swiss Liechtenstein. Very warm welcome for you. Then we have Monty Metzger, who is the CEO of LCX, also based here, to my knowledge. Then we have Steiner, who is head of regulatory of Bitpanda. Well, very welcome. And of course, Oliver Linch. You have seen him before, if you were there already. And CEO of Bittrex Global. So welcome to all of you. Very happy to have such an illustrious panel today. And I would ask you just in 2-3 short sentences to shortly introduce, for all those who might not have heard and talked to you before, what your companies and your projects are doing, where you're based, and give us some background.
Exactly.
In short.
I'm Mauro Casellini, on one side CEO of Bitcoin Swiss Liechtenstein. Bitcoin Swiss is a financial service provider in the blockchain space since 2013. We are based in Zug and in Liechtenstein. Over 300 employees are focusing on brokerage, custody, and also on services like staking. And I also wear a second hat. I'm also board member of the Crypto Country Association.
Lovely. Monty, please.
Perfect. I'm CEO and founder of LCX. LCX stands for Liechtenstein Crypto Assets Exchange. We're proud to be in Liechtenstein. Right here, a couple of 100 meters away, is our headquarters. We're a regulated fintech company, and we've gained 8 regulatory approvals by the TVTG. So we are following the blockchain laws and leveraging it. One key role is the token issuer, where we are helping projects from around the world to issue the token the legal way, leveraging this great blockchain act.
Thank you. Now, Christian, please.
Thanks. I hope some of you know Bitpanda. We've been in the industry quite a long time. We started in 2014 in Vienna. We grew quite a lot. Liechtenstein was never really our main focus, but we still touched upon great regulations from your side. It was always a pleasure to see what Liechtenstein is doing there and to see the first mover in the TVTG there. From our company, we started with Bitcoin, similar as most exchanges, so custody and real exchange service. And then we moved a little bit to other assets and tried to bring the same advantages we see in Bitcoins and other things to our users. So we focus a lot on UX, but also like on making it 24/7 available, being able to trade fractional and stuff like that.
Thank you, and please, Oliver.
So I'm Oliver. I'm quite a lot like the guy that was talking over there just now. So Bittrex Global was founded in 2019 as the non-US component of Bittrex. In Liechtenstein, we've since got ourselves regulated in Bermuda as well to serve non-EU clients. So we are an exchange, offer a very wide range of tokens, probably the widest range of tokens of any regulated exchange in the world. And we, from the very beginning, have focused on 3 pillars. We've been focused on security, and our founders were security engineers who were just dissatisfied with the environment it existed back in 2012, 2013. So security, innovation, and regulation. So I think you've heard me talk enough about regulation, so I'll leave it there for now.
Well, it never hurts to talk about the business impact, but of course we're trying to focus on the business part. I would actually call you up on that topic. So you have a perspective of kind of at least 2 continents you bring together. Of course, your responsibility lies in the outside of the US, but looking at the MiCA regulation from the business side, what is your perspective? What are you expecting as impact in the business side for Bittrex Global, so the non-US part?
Well, look, we have been one of the very few exchanges that has been pro-MiCA since the very beginning in terms of its principles. Monty will say the same thing. We're not expecting to have to change an awful lot in the way that we run our exchanges because we've been doing it, right? MiCA has followed, explicitly in some cases, has followed the TVTG. So we're geared up to doing it, and we have been pushing the industry to get to a stage where they have to do it too. So I can fully understand all of those exchanges out there that haven't been operating in a genuinely regulated way, being up in arms about MiCA. They kind of have to do so a bit carefully. But there's going to be a big business impact on those industries, on those companies, because they're going to have to change things up in order to be compliant with MiCA. We're doing it. We've been doing it for years. There may be some tweaks needed to fit in with the new EU way of doing it, but we relish the opportunity to really show the world what a regulated crypto exchange looks like and how we've been doing it for the last 3 years here.
So if I take a short version and interpret what you're saying, I would say that you're expecting that it might even benefit your business because you're already there and others will have to adjust and adapt. Is that kind of like a phrase?
And if you want to trade on a regulated exchange, why would you trade on someone that's been dragged kicking and screaming in a MiCA environment when you could come and trade on an exchange that's been doing it in a safe, secure and regulated way for 3 years? That's Bittrex Global, and that's what we've been doing, living and breathing every single day.
Well, thank you for that. And Christian, what is your perspective on the topic?
I think there's some very big advantages coming with MiCA. First of all, I want to reflect on AML5 and the situation we're currently in. So currently you need to register in each and every country. You have roughly 28 different national laws you need to follow. So you have a ton of bureaucratic that does not bring us further while not even benefiting the customer. With MiCA, you have a single license, a single passport. You also have one single regulator. That's just huge advantages from a market perspective, from an efficiency perspective there. On the other hand, it will foster professionalization. I think the exchanges, the cusps are already there, or at least getting ready there. Not all of them, but most of them, and they're going in the right direction. Not 100% sure if all the issuers of the industry out there is still on the same track. I think there's some work to do. They will need to rework the processes for us being able to list them, for us being able to comply with the regulatory law. So that is a potential geometrical effect that we will see with MiCA.
So you would say that you expect some hiccups in the pipeline leading to the exchanges. Is that what you...
But not caused by us, just by
No.
the technological standard. If you take, for example, Bitcoin, it's currently unclear if they need to publish a white paper and who will publish the white paper. So we have one of the main, we heard so much about Bitcoin, it was the founding of the whole industry, and still MiCA was like somehow not ignoring, but at least it was a political compromise that somebody now needs to get up with a white paper and takes the responsibility, liability for something that is actually non-centralized issued. So that's, of course, nobody in the industry can look away from that.
Before we continue, I would like to take up that part. Do you have an advice to people planning to list their project on exchanges and who are in the preparation phase in regards of that? I mean, MiCA still not being implemented, but still, if you think ahead.
Yes, I think two parts. While you still need to get the technological side really ready, you also should start talking with your lawyer. Not too much. It's still about innovation, but at least have a quick review what you should do for MiCA and get a little bit ready for that as an issue. I think that's something, or work together with an exchange that is supporting that. I think that is something great to hand over to Monty.
Well, now I would hand it over to you. What is your thinking?
I think blockchain is to the money what email was to the letter. So we are in a fundamental technology shift which is driven by innovation, protocols, developers. And what is needed to thrive in this financial market, disrupting monetary systems, digital money and everything, is clear regulatory framework. Where we are here now in Liechtenstein is actually giving us at LCX and all the other participants, I think, the biggest advantage currently in the market, because we are in this role model where we have this legal framework, which will be then eventually prepare us very good for the MiCA regulations. And MiCA as a whole is the biggest opportunity for Europe, where we ultimately could become the Silicon Valley of crypto and blockchain, not only in Vaduz or Liechtenstein, but Europe as a whole with several hubs, because everybody's screaming out there for legal clarity. The startups and the entrepreneurs, they want to get it right. They're investing in it, and still they are punished by so many regulators, especially in the US, what we see every day in news. But they don't do it intentionally, but they want to get it right. And so that's why it's great to be in Liechtenstein, because we can get it right already today. There is the legal framework, we can work on this, and now we are able to leverage it on a European level, and that's super exciting for us.
So do I understand right that you see a lot of similarity in the TVTG and its standards and methods, basically, related to the MiCA regulation? So there is some kind of like similarities here. And I've heard a lot of speculation, and that the European Union was, of course, also influenced by the Liechtenstein regulation. How do you see that?
Yes, there are always technology cycles, and in social media, for example, some might remember MySpace or Friendster, but then like Facebook and Google came along. And it's same here. There's a first generation of exchanges which are out there. They have a track record of like all different kind of non-compliant and non-KYC transactions. It's hard to turn them around. It's probably never possible. So that's why it's important to get like the next generation of exchanges who are actually leveraging, building something new. And we are trained to look at due diligence processes much more detailed. We probably sometimes sidelined on some innovation because we can't do everything right away. We have to be a little bit more careful, but this is like a training space, training camp for what's coming with MiCA then.
Okay, so Liechtenstein is a very good space for you to already be prepared, to explore and set up. And I mean, you've gone quite some way, from what I understand.
Yeah, and then ultimately, like what we hope for is that we don't need to go to all these European countries, Italy, France, or whatever, and have entities in each country, but rather passport the licenses which we have here. Yeah. So that would really give us an advantage. And so that's what, like in the European Parliament discussions, what we are trying to enforce and say, hey, we are regulated here, let's have us the opportunity to passport it European Union-wide.
Thank you. And Mauro, what is your perspective?
In my perspective, in the end, what's better than having a harmonized regulatory framework all over Europe that offers you as a legit and compliant provider to offer your services to every citizen all over Europe? It's amazing. It's a huge opportunity, and the players who have done it right and will do it right in the future, they have a huge opportunity there. And in the end, regulation is about investor protection. And that's what's happening here, that's what's finally happening here. And I think every provider that's sitting here, we are happy to see that regulation because it finally gives us the freedom to really do what we know we do it right.
And as a short one, because of course it's always, there are many questions. What do you see from a business perspective, on the negative side? So is there complexity in the regulation? Or?
For me, I do not see a negative side because I'm originally from traditional finance and I just see that we need to protect the people out there from illicit players. And therefore, even if it's more work and more corporate governance and more processes, it's in the end for the good. It will help also us as companies to do what we do already good, that we know that we do it right and will do it even better in the future.
So, if I understand you right, you're saying it makes, of course, business a little bit more formalized, but it is kind of a gatekeeper function that has more value on the good side of things.
Yeah, and especially when we have regulation, the big institutional money will come in. So therefore, the market will grow a lot if we have clear regulation, and therefore, in the end, it will help all of us. The cake will be way bigger. It will be difficult to make it, but the cake will be way bigger than it is nowadays.
All right. I see some agreement here. Yeah. Any opinions on that? So please.
I think a point which will be very interesting with MiCA is how will the European Union and the regulators in each country work on a real level playing field. We see currently some of the providers who are not based in Europe, who don't hold to European standards, who still provide services here, who still sometimes do marketing. And I think it's going to be very, very interesting what strategy those castes will go and what strategies the regulators will go. So if we will see, I don't know, an own entity with a MiCA license there that then is fully obliged to uphold all of those, or if they try to circumvent that, and if yes, how we as an industry, but also their regulators can ensure that we are not worse off for being compliant. I think that's one of the most important key factors for making MiCA successful.
Yeah.
And I think, sorry, go on.
Yeah, but I think like one very important thing you ask about is the negative sides as well. And there are lots of negative sides as well. One key element is really that it's blocking innovation on many levels. If you talk to like the kind of core developers of blockchains, they have so many ideas. They could disrupt any industry step by step, from financial models to even tokenizing every asset in the world. But the regulatory framework of banks, monetary systems, everything is blocking them. They could actually do much, much more. So what we are trying to achieve is to get the balance right, to not block all this innovation, but rather get a kind of a good balance between getting it right and like sticking with the rules. And this balance is crucial, and it's a pain in the industry. So a lot of startups come to us, say, hey, we have this great idea, we'd like to launch a token, we don't know how, and so now finally, at least we can help them with the token issuance and find a way that they can raise money or like do this token sale, but the legal way.
Yeah, I think that trade-off is often overplayed. I think people like to say, oh, regulation stifles innovation, you've got to pick, do you want regulation or the Wild West? I don't think that's the case. I think that what you want is space to innovate within an environment that people know is grown up and responsible. So I think people that decry MiCA or decry regulation in the US or anywhere else on the basis that will stifle innovation, they have an angle, they're pushing it, and I can see that. But actually, regulation is nothing new in financial services. You don't hear people talking about investment firms not being able to innovate. They can innovate, they just have to do it in a responsible way. And in terms of the European regulators' approach, I think we at Metzger Global hope, and I think we probably all hope, that they will take the example of MiFID, of AIFMD, of CRR, and apply those standards just as rigorously. Because if crypto is going to be an industry and a sector and a product offering on a par with traditional financing, and we think it should be, then why shouldn't we be playing by the same kind of playbook? We know what that looks like. Let's not pretend that we're trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're not. We're applying the same principles to the new sector, and we really welcome that.
And I think that's what I really like about MiCA in the end, because it's exactly also saying, look, that's MiFID, that's other regulation we do not care in this crypto side. Go to the other law, read that, and you will know what to do. So it's great that they do not regulate the technology, but that they regulate the providers and go in that direction.
So, and I think to second that shortly, I think you can be innovative. It's just when you're touching people's money, then regulation should kick in. So please, let's not confuse those two things. If you want to innovate and you want to do your own business model without touching anybody's money, you're not collecting money from the public, you can innovate basically all of it and no banking regulation will infringe. But if you're touching people's money, if you're collecting things, if you're promising rewards, then it is, I think, fair and square to have a minimum requirement of information, of internal governance. And I think these two things are sometimes often mixed together when we talk about the role of innovation and regulation.
Well, so I think you can still regulate even when taking people's money. No. I mean, the products and offerings that are evolving every day are innovative.
So I fully agree. I just meant I always hear regulations punishing so much innovation. It's so much a counterbalance. But on the other hand, you're touching people's money, and therefore it's okay to have a legal basis for that.
So at the moment, basically, I understand that here's a kind of a little bit of a consensus that while regulation puts us all a little bit under stress and makes things more difficult, that you say like the balancing act is on the positive side right now because some regulation is needed. It might also get us a competitive advantage out of Liechtenstein and Europe. Because if we put the standard out and the standard is like at least accepted, maybe copied partly, like I feel that the Liechtenstein standard has been moving into the European Union a little bit, but that's a compliment to the people who put that up here. That is basically more an advantage because of business security, like knowing the rules, knowing how you can create and move forward your projects. And also, because some protection is needed. So you see it, if I kind of like get a yes or a no here, you see it more on the positive side. If the regulator applies the regulation, and regulation needs to be applied in a constructive way, is that a take you could support?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that getting the balance right, then the opportunities are endless. And it's demanded also by the market. They like entrepreneurs or new companies being started who want to create a token or like blockchain systems and solutions, they are looking for this. And that's why I think they look into Liechtenstein and come here and join this fantastic conference because there is huge demand and pain out there basically to find a solution. And we can finally deliver it. And that's, I think, what excites me.
I think we need to look at the global perspective as well. Yeah. So this is great for the EU, I think, in many ways, but we've got to look at the sector as a whole. Now, Business Global is also regulated in Bermuda, so we've always got one eye on Western world, but we know that there are jurisdictions out there that will capitalize on the increased robustness of the EU to operate as effective safe havens. So, we need to look at the industry as a whole and ways we can reflect standards that are and principles that are built into MiCA to demand the same of crypto exchanges around the world. And the days of being able to jurisdiction shop in banks are over, and I think jurisdiction shopping in crypto is still going to be a feature for some time to come. So
and I think that's a huge problem in the digital world that we have, because it's in traditional finance, reverse solicitation works, but it's not really working. And in the digital world, with the blockchain world, with exchanges, it works because you do not even need to advertise it somewhere. If it's just written somewhere, people will onboard with you, they will send you some crypto. It works, and that's a huge problem. The regulators need to find a way to fight that problem that illegitimate players can come in from the sidelines without being regulated in the area they are active.
We should not forget
Yeah, one more, but then I need to get to another question.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We
Please.
should not forget that internet is borderless, so you can, as you said, reach it from everywhere, and you cannot, or I would strongly argue against, like banning the IP or something like that, or the domain. But, however, if they want to have European clients, they need to stick to European rules, and that is something that needs to be ensured from the industry, from the regulators, and all together to really ensure a level playing field. One last sentence to MiCA. I think we need to look on the whole content when it's there. If we have all the, so I would say yes for now. If we see all publications from ESMA, EBA, and co, we will need to see whether we got in another MiCA than we expect now. That's a little bit, I would not say a fear, but something as a warning for the industry, for us all, that we do not stop now with our public policy work, but really check what is coming next.
Well, thank you for that closing remark on that. But now I would ask Mauro, strategic business perspective. We're talking about challenges for exchanges and brokers in Liechtenstein and in Europe. We have seen a lot of things happening, new trends, DeFi, well, NFT is not that new, and so on. We have seen scandals, crashes, and everything. Competitive advantages, and so on. What is moving you right now? What is something you see on the horizon as a very important part that you want to share with us, influencing the strategic setup of your project, your company?
It's a good question. I would say that it's there again, regulation is always slower than the innovation, and that with MiCA we have seen some challenges inside it, so that we do not see in the end a MiCA that we would like to see that will in the end block things like staking, like in the future with DeFi, with liquidity pools, and so on. So as long as there's a player that does it ledger, that knows what he's doing, it does it from a compliant way, that protects its clients, there should still be space for innovation, and we see the innovation out there. And again, innovation will happen, and if it will not be addressed through clear regulation, people will find another way to get access to this space. And therefore, if the regulator is too slow or goes in the wrong direction, it will block us from doing what we would like to do, but the client itself, he will find a way to do it.
So the energy of innovation needs to get a funnel to, in a kind of like adequate way, as the society requests, channel itself into the innovation that we all want. Well, Monty, please.
I think what we have in front of us with the TBTG, the Blockchain Act in Liechtenstein, is this holistic approach, regulating not only one piece of the puzzle, but rather the industry and the value chain from token generation to token trading, price services, even up to now tokenizing physical aspects. And that's what's exciting. In terms of the challenges, I do see that out there is a demand of risky traders who want to trade even every meme token and take the risks. And so for us as a platform, it's also about figuring out what do we want to present. It's our reputation at stake, and then also educating the users what are different trade opportunities. Kind of this do your own research, I think, is not enough. We are also responsible to present information to them, and that's what we're trying to do with like all different kind of services with the exchange at the heart.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, Christian, please.
Yeah, maybe I would start with ensuring that people are again re-evaluating before taking the investment decision, in the sense of whom to trust and whom not. So I think that's playing again in the thing of industry standards, level playing field, that we really convince them that there's a use case for regulation that actually protects their money. That's the first thing. And in general, I think everybody's a little bit moved by crypto winter, and we see some shifts on the market from falling prices and also falling trade volumes. I think that's something that is out there. Everybody sees it, everybody knows it.
And how do you see DeFi in regards of regulation?
I think DeFi can bring great opportunities, but you need to look what you're really doing and if it's really decentralized. I think that touches upon some of the topics that was said by regulators and FMR beforehand. most of the DeFi products have somebody who is actually at the end earning money on that. If it's really like Bitcoin, a holy standard that is beneficial for the world and not for a single person, that's a different DeFi we are talking. So I think two different levels in general. I'm pro DeFi, but it needs to be really DeFi in the sense of common good.
Oliver, what are the strategic challenges and maybe opportunities you see ahead?
I think the biggest challenge that not just crypto but the world is facing right now is macroeconomic uncertainty. You know, Bittrex has been around for a long time in crypto terms, but the last series of bear markets were counter-cyclical with bear markets in traditional finance. So you sort of could place crypto as an alternative financial product. That's not the case now, right? We're seeing bear markets in traditional finance as well as in crypto finance. We don't quite yet know what that means. It's also important to note that crypto has not been around in a time of global recession, right? Bitcoin was only invented after the 2008 crisis. We don't know how it's going to stand up and how it's going to work. But what we have seen is two really important things. The first is a sustained and, if anything, increasing institutional demand, right? People, I don't think now are seriously questioning anymore the technology behind it. And every major financial institution now, every big bank has a crypto desk, right? Some of them might not like to admit it, but they do, a substantive crypto desk. Every asset manager, every fund manager knows that they need to offer crypto in some way to their customers. They're just demanding it. And so that brings you back into the world of regulation, because if you want to offer crypto products and compare like with like to traditional regulated products, well, customers are going to demand equal levels of security and regulation around those products. So that's the first really interesting thing we're seeing is that institutional strengthening of interest and M&A activity associated with it. And the second really interesting thing you're seeing is just innovation. You're seeing as people from the traditional finance sectors move into crypto, they want to bring their trading strategies, they want to bring their products, they want to bring their wrappers, the things that they've spent the last 30 years developing, they want to be able to bring that into the crypto sphere. And for an industry that prides itself on being innovative, we should be right there up with them, innovating, offering them the products and allowing them to do that, because that's the future of crypto. Yeah, there's a whole world of possibility out there, and exchanges and regulated players within the industry as a whole have a role in ensuring that crypto can live up to those expectations.
Well, that's a very hopeful, basically, ending for our talk here. I was about to ask the organizers to bring up some drinks, and we can take some more time, but I've been told that at least one of the panelists needs to leave early or in time. So we will respect that rule, even though it would have been a pleasure to continue the talk here. So I would thank you all for participating, and who's still there is probably going to end up in a discussion with me because I want to elaborate more here. But sooner or later we'll catch up. And yeah, I would thank you all for your interest. And yeah, let's have the next one.
Thank you.